Hey, listen up, because what I'm about to say, it's real. Ever wondered what they whisper about you when you're not there? Yeah? Those quiet rooms, those fake smiles, those secret little meetings that shake behind closed doors. Guess what? Your name was on the table, and when it ended in tears. Oh, don't scroll now, not yet. You need to hear this whole thing, because what happened next will make you see every fake face differently. This isn't just a story, no, it's your proof that silence hits harder than shouting, that calm destroys control. Is that true? Oh, it always finds its way out. You see, they thought they could define you. They thought they could break you. But nah, you became the very thing they can't explain. Every tear they dropped, that was fear leaving their body. You've earned this every scar, every rumor, every silence. It all led you here. And if you're watching this right now, oh, you're one of the few who get it. You're the kind of person they meet about in secret. Why? Because your energy can't be replaced, can't be copied, can't be controlled. So here's your tribute, my friend. This one's for you. The one they doubted, the one they underestimated, the one who walked away without saying a word, and now they can't stop saying your name. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell the world that silence isn't weakness, it's power in disguise. Because tonight you'll hear exactly what they said about you and why it broke them instead. When people can't destroy your truth, they meet to rewrite it. That's where it all began. A room you weren't invited to. A few chairs, low lights, eyes darting like thieves caught under a flickering bulb. Oh, they thought they were clever, speaking softly, smiling nervously, pretending it was all just concern. But the truth? They were afraid, terrified, because the story had changed, you had changed. And they didn't know how to explain it. See, when you start walking differently, when your silence begins to speak louder than their noise, that's when the whispers begin. Did you hear about them? Something's off. They're acting strange. Strange? No, not strange. Strong. But they'll never say that out loud. It hurts them to admit you grew beyond their version of you. You didn't even do anything dramatic. You just started seeing through the game. You stopped chasing their validation. You learned to sit with your own thoughts. And suddenly, your calm became a threat. Your confidence, a question mark. They couldn't answer. Because if you could rise without their help, what did that say about their power? That's what made them panic. They gathered that night not to talk about you, but to contain you, to rewrite what you've become. Let's say they're arrogant. Let's call them cold. Anything to reduce what they can't control. They thought if they threw enough dirt, they could bury your name. But all they did was plant it. And now it's growing roots in their heads. You see, there's a certain silence that burns people. The kind that says, I don't owe you an explanation. And that's the silence you wear now. It unsettles them. It makes them question themselves. Every time they speak about you, their words tremble with the fear that maybe, just maybe, you were right all along. Yeah, that's what's funny. They didn't cry that night because they missed you. They cried because they realized they lost control of their favorite target. The one they mocked. The one they doubted. The one who used to beg for understanding now walks past them without a glance. Oh, that burns. That's the kind of pain that doesn't scream, it echoes. And what hurts the most It wasn't supposed to end like this. You were supposed to break. You were supposed to beg to come back. You were supposed to need them. But instead, you built yourself from the silence they left you in. You didn't collapse. You evolved. And that evolution, that calm fire in your eyes, it ruined their comfort. So they sit there in that little circle of fear, replaying your name like a haunting song they can't get out of their heads. Their tears aren't guilt. They regret. Regret that they pushed you out and somehow you rose higher without them. Oh, but this isn't where it ends. No, this is just where they start to realize something far worse, because the truth they fear most hasn't even been spoken yet. Power built on control always cracks when truth walks in the room. That's the secret they tried to hide, isn't it? The truth they feared most, that their strength was an illusion. Every order they gave, every fake smile, every little smirk of superiority was just a mask hiding their weakness. You never noticed it before because you were too busy proving yourself. You thought you had to earn their respect, play their game, survive their tests. But once you stopped playing, everything changed. Their power didn't fade, it vanished. Oh yeah, that was the turning point. The moment you realized that their control existed only as long as you obeyed the rules they wrote. Once you stopped reacting, they started shaking. Once you stopped explaining, they started whispering. Once you stopped needing them, they started fearing you. And isn't that wild? How fast their confidence turns into confusion when you no longer dance to their rhythm. Their tears that night weren't about guilt. They were about loss. They lost the version of you that made them feel big. You were their mirror, the one they stood over to feel tall. But now that mirror stands alone, and they're forced to look at themselves without distortion. Oh wow, that's what breaks them. Not your distance, not your silence, but their reflection. You see, their strength always depended on someone else being small, and for so long, that someone was you. They fed off your doubt. They built their certainty on your confusion. They called it guidance, but it was manipulation dressed as care. You see it now, don't you? Every kind smile carried hidden pride. Every compliment that came with a condition. Every time they said, "I just want the best for you," but secretly hoped you'd fail without their hand. But then you started asking questions. You started thinking differently. And the moment you outgrew their design, they panicked. Because people like that can't survive where growth is real. Their comfort depends on others staying predictable, staying small, staying silent. And you broke that pattern. Oh nah, they weren't ready for that. They wanted you to be obedient, not awake. They wanted you thankful, not thoughtful. They wanted you quiet, not questioning. But now you're the one holding the calm power, the kind that doesn't scream, doesn't beg, doesn't need to prove anything. You move differently now. You speak when needed. You look without fear. You carry yourself with the peace that comes from knowing you've already walked through worse. And that peace, it disturbs them more than any anger ever could. Because of anger, they can fight. But peace, true calm, that's something they can't touch. It's the proof that you've reclaimed your mind, your purpose, your control. So they sit there, in their circle of noise, wondering how they lost grip of something they thought was theirs forever. The answer is simple. They were never the strong ones. They just borrowed your energy and called it power. But now that you've taken it back, they're left holding air. And deep down, they know what comes next. The moment you stop defending yourself, the truth starts doing it for you. That's when everything changes. When you no longer rush to explain, justify, or prove. The silence becomes your sharpest weapon. You don't need to shout anymore. You don't need to argue. The quiet confidence in your tone does all the talking. And oh, it shakes them. Because silence carries weight. It exposes what words try to hide. That's why that meeting, that secret meeting about you, fell apart in tears. They thought they were gathering to decide how to handle you. But the more they spoke, the more they exposed themselves. Every word they said sounded hollow. Every excuse cracked halfway through. You weren't even in the room, yet your calm shadow sat at the table. Your silence demanded truth, and they couldn't face it. Oh yeah, they could laugh before, remember? They could point fingers, tell stories, and act like they were above it all. But not anymore. Not when their favorite topic, you, doesn't react the way it used to. You see, people like that feed off reactions. Your emotion is their oxygen. Your confusion is their comfort. But once you go still, once you go quiet, they suffocate on their own noise. It's strange, isn't it? How silence can sound louder than any argument. It echoes, it lingers. It makes them second guess every move they make. Because silence forces reflection, and reflection forces truth. Oh wow, that's what broke them. Not your words, not your revenge, just your peace. The peace that says, I know what you did, and I'm not even angry. I've just outgrown it. That kind of peace feels like judgment to those who refuse to grow. It burns without fire. It cuts without a blade. And that's why they cried. Not because they cared, but because they couldn't understand how you could stay calm when they expected you to crumble. They wanted you to be reactive. You became reflective. They wanted you weak. You became wise. Oh, nah. They didn't see that coming. They thought silence meant surrender. They thought distance meant defeat. But silence was your strategy. It was your evolution. You learned that not every battle needs noise. Some are won by patience. You learned that peace isn't the absence of struggle. It's the control of it. And now that control scares them more than any rage could. They can't argue with you anymore because you no longer speak their language. Their chaos doesn't reach you. Their gossip doesn't touch you. Their stories don't shape you. You've stepped out of their system, and now they're stuck fighting ghosts. Their own guilt, their own pride, their own fear of being exposed. And that's the real irony. You didn't have to confront them. You just had to be still. And in that stillness, they saw everything. Because silence, when carried by truth, becomes louder than thunder. The quiet ones are never harmless. They're just planning without noise. That's the moment. Everything shifts. The silence that once confused them now starts to move. Slowly, carefully, like a storm building behind calm skies. You don't shout, you don't explain, you simply act, and every small move you make, every choice, every boundary, every new level of focus becomes a message they can't ignore. Oh, yeah, this is where things get interesting, because action speaks a language they were never prepared to hear. You're no longer reacting to what they said. You're writing your own direction. You've stopped living in defense. You're now in design. Every day, you're shaping your next step, piece by piece, without waiting for their approval, and that drives them mad. They used to know what would trigger you. They could predict your emotions, your words, your patterns. But now you're unpredictable. You've gone silent on the outside and strategic on the inside. And people like that, they don't fear loud power. They fear quiet progress because it creeps up on them. One day, they'll look around and realize you've built something far beyond their reach. Oh wow. They'll act surprised. They'll say, "We didn't see this coming." But deep down they did. They saw the signs, the change in your tone, the patience in your responses, the focus in your eyes. They ignored it because they thought you'd never actually do it. They thought your silence was hesitant. Nah, it was preparation. You started taking the energy they used against you and turning it into fuel. You stopped wasting your breath proving them wrong and started letting your progress speak instead. You began fixing things quietly. Your mindset, your habits, your discipline. You started living with intention. And that's what they fear the most, intention. Because intention means you're no longer reactive. You're driven by purpose. And that's the part they can't fight. You're no longer standing where they left you. You're growing where they can't see you. You're building something that doesn't need their recognition. Every small win, every step forward, every peaceful moment, it's all part of a larger plan. You're turning pain into precision. Oh nah, they didn't expect you to rise like this. They thought they had you figured out, the same person who would crack under pressure, who would chase approval, who would fold in silence. But now, that silence has become your stage. And your actions? They're your speech. Every result you produce, every calm step you take, reminds them that they were never the authors of your story. Now they're watching, not out of interest, but out of fear. Fear of what comes next. Fear of realizing that all their efforts to control you only trained you to control yourself. And that realization cuts deeper than any confrontation ever could. Because now, you're proof. Proof that strength doesn't need noise. Proof that power doesn't need an audience. And as you rise slowly, deliberately, without a word, they finally understand what true control looks like. But there's something they still haven't seen. The final stage of your transformation. Oh, so now you see it, huh? That meeting. That secret little circle of whispers, it wasn't about you losing. Nah, it was about them realizing what they lost. You didn't fall behind, you simply stepped out of their reach. Oh, and that silence of yours? It spoke louder than any words ever could. Yeah, they called you distant. They called you cold. But what they didn't understand is that you were healing in private. You were building in silence. You were rewriting your whole story without needing their applause. And now, you walk past their doubt like it never existed. So here's the truth, the one they fear the most. You don't owe them anger. You don't owe them explanation. You don't even owe them attention. You owe yourself peace. And that's exactly what you claimed. Oh nah, don't think it's over. Because this story doesn't end with revenge. It ends with rebirth. The moment you stop needing to prove anything, that's when you truly rise. And tonight you did that. You turned every rumor into a reason, every tear into a tool, every silent night into strategy. So if you made it here, if you watched all the way through, you're not just an audience, you're part of the movement. You're proof that quiet strength still exists in a noisy world. You're the calm before the storm, and the storm after the calm. Drop a comment. Tell them, I don't chase recognition, I create results. Say it with your chest, because the world needs to hear voices like yours. Real, raw, and done pretending to fit. Oh, you've come far. And trust me, they'll talk again, but next time, it won't end in tears because of confusion. It'll end in silence because of respect. Remember this line. They met to talk about you, but ended up talking about their fear. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this dark, real, powerful truth. Now go, move quietly, build loudly, and let them whisper again, because every whisper now is proof you made it.